What do an office worker in 2025 and a primitive man fleeing from a predator have in common? More than you might think, and the Stoics knew it. Your phone vibrates, your pulse quickens, your palms sweat, your body prepares for battle with a lion, but all you have is a message. Who is to blame for this absurd mistake? The human brain evolved to survive in the savannah, but found itself in an office with deadlines. The result is constant activation of anxiety systems where there is no real threat. An email triggers the same biochemical processes as an encounter with a predator. But here lies a paradox. The system that was meant to protect us has become the main source of suffering. The brain generates stress in response to threats that exist only in human imagination, chemical and evolutionary traps of modern life. Your body prepares for physical combat with problems that require mental solutions. When you worry about finances, muscles tense up for running. When you think about an upcoming meeting, the heart speeds up for fighting. Cortisol floods the system, preparing for actions that will never take place. The result is chronic exhaustion from preparing for battles fought only in your head. The body remains in a state of constant mobilization without physical discharge, for which this mechanism was created. The Stoics understood this trap and found a way out. They learned to fool their own brain, giving it safety signals even in stressful situations. Our brain still behaves as if we live in the African savannah 200,000 years ago. Back then, threats had clear outlines: a leopard, hunger, a hostile tribe. The body immediately mobilized, fought or fled, then returned to rest. The system worked flawlessly. Today, threats are invisible and continuous. Utility bills, news of crises. Our ancient brain reacts to an email the same as its ancestor to the roar of a lion. Adrenaline and cortisol flood the body, but there is nowhere to run, no one to fight. Neurochemistry of anxiety. Deep in the brain, in the amygdala, works an ancient guard. It cannot distinguish between real and imagined danger. When you see an unpleasant message on your phone, this guard presses the red button. Within seconds, the whole body goes into survival mode. The hypothalamus triggers a cascade of reactions. The adrenal glands release stress hormones. The heart speeds up. Breathing becomes shallow. The digestive system stops. Immunity decreases. All so we can escape the predator that does not actually exist. The worst part is that this system cannot turn itself off. It waits for a signal that the danger is over. But how to end the threat of dismissal when we perform certain actions daily? How to overcome fear of the future when it is always uncertain? Paradox of security and phantoms of modern life. We live in the safest era in human history. Stress has become a phantom pain of civilization. The body suffers from threats existing only in thoughts. Average life expectancy has increased. Medicine overcomes diseases. Technologies make life more comfortable. But anxiety levels continue to rise. Each such thought triggers real biochemical processes. The body cannot distinguish imaginary threats from real ones. It honestly prepares to defend against dangers created by its own imagination. This paradox is explained by the brain being adapted to specific, understandable threats. Modern life is full of abstract risks: economic instability, environmental problems, social uncertainty. The ancient anxiety system does not know how to react and therefore reacts constantly. Digital overload. Smartphones turn every second into a potential source of stress. The brain expects the next message, news, notification. This constant readiness exhausts the nervous system. Social networks create a new form of stress: comparison with others. The brain perceives others' achievements as threats to one's own status. Evolutionarily, status meant access to resources and partners. Loss of status could cost life. Thus, the brain painfully reacts to every sign that someone else lives better. Culture of productivity. Modern culture has turned constant busyness into a virtue. Being busy became a sign of success. Resting is shameful. This mindset amplifies chronic stress. The brain does not understand why you force yourself to work beyond capacity. It interprets this as a danger signal. Probably a war or famine is ongoing if you need to strain so much. And it activates survival mode at full power. The body is a battlefield. Chronic stress turns the body into a battlefield with an invisible enemy. Constantly elevated cortisol levels destroy the immune system. Inflammation becomes chronic. Problems with sleep, digestion, concentration appear. The worst is that stress becomes a self-sustaining cycle. Poor well-being causes anxiety. Anxiety intensifies stress. Stress worsens well-being. Breaking this circle becomes harder and harder. Illusion of control. People try to control the uncontrollable. You make plans for all possible scenarios, calculate risks, seek guarantees where none exist. This struggle for control only intensifies helplessness. The brain evolved for life in a predictable environment. Modern world is volatile and unpredictable. Attempts to fit it into evolutionary expectations are doomed to fail. Social infection. Stress is contagious. You unconsciously copy emotional states of others. If colleagues are tense, your nervous system automatically adjusts to the same mood. This is called emotional contagion. In primitive societies, such synchronization helped survival. If someone in the group sensed danger, all immediately prepared. Today, this ability became a curse. You automatically absorb others, even when unfounded. Ways to restore balance. Understanding the nature of stress opens the path to overcoming it. The brain can be retrained to respond adequately to modern challenges. Physical unloading helps complete the stress response. The ancient system expects physical activity after mobilization. Any movement signals the brain that danger is over. Breathing practices activate the parasympathetic nervous system, responsible for calm. Slow, deep breathing switches the brain from anxiety mode to recovery mode. Limiting information flow reduces the burden on the threat processing system. Less news, fewer notifications, less chaos in the head. Natural contact soothes ancient brain structures. Evolutionarily, natural environment is associated with safety. Even short walks in the park reduce cortisol levels. Social connections activate the attachment system, which suppresses stress reactions. Warm relationships with loved ones signal safety to the brain. Mindfulness allows recognizing illusory threats. When you realize that an anxious thought is just a thought, not reality, the brain gradually learns not to panic in response. Strategy of controlled ignoring. Your attention is a limited resource that can be distributed consciously. Most people allow stressful thoughts to take up all available mental bandwidth. The result is fixation on problems and losing the ability to see solutions. Stoics developed the technique of selective attention. They consciously decided which thoughts to let into the focus of consciousness. An anxious thought about the future received 5 minutes of analysis, then attention switched to current tasks. The key is not to fight unwanted thoughts, but simply not to feed them attention. A thought without attention quickly loses power and disappears on its own. Method of controlled disorientation. Stress often arises from excessive fixation on one perspective. You see the situation from one point of view and do not notice alternative interpretations. Your brain is not broken. It just lives in an era it has not yet adapted to. Understanding this fact itself reduces tension. You are fighting not your own flaws, but the mismatch between ancient programs and modern realities. Stress ceases to be an enemy when you understand its nature. It becomes a signal that the ancient protection system is trying to guard you. The task is not to get rid of stress completely, but to teach the brain to distinguish real threats from imaginary ones. Stoics practiced intentional perspective shifts. They considered each problem from positions of different people, from different time distances, from different cultural contexts. Such mental gymnastics broke fixed thinking patterns. Practically, this means regular questions. How would a child see this situation? A person from another culture? Myself in 10 years? Each perspective shift reveals new aspects of the problem and reduces its emotional charge. Each time you consciously choose calm instead of panic, you reprogram ancient patterns. The brain is extremely plastic. It can learn to live in the modern global world without losing the ability to protect you from real dangers. These techniques work because they use the brain's functioning features rather than fight them. You learn to control the system that controls you.